Moderco Partitions is an international manufacturer of operable walls, electric gymnasium dividers, accordion doors, and glass wall systems. We have in excess of 100 fully trained installing distributors in place throughout all of the Americas, including US and Canada, where we have thousands of successfully installed projects and satisfied consumers. With a philosophy of always improving our products and ideas, Moderco maximizes the expectations and demands of our customers by working with our distributors and architects, contractors, or the users of the walls. Thanks to our spirit of innovation and our capacity for research and development, along with the creative spirit of its people, and with the dynamism of our network of professional distributors, Moderco never stops growing. Moderco has engaged SmartBIM to develop building information model content to serve architects and engineers that are incorporating Autodesk Revit into their design process. Specifically, Moderco has now released 24 products that are freely available to the design community. You can access these models by simply going to the Moderco website, where you will be able to click on the BIM icon. Clicking this icon will redirect you to the SmartBIM website, where you will have direct access to the Revit models. By clicking on any one of these download buttons, your web browser will download the WinZip file locally, and then by clicking on this button that tells me my web browser has access to that zip file, I'll be able to prompt open my WinZip utility to show you a few more details about that zip file. Now, your utility will also give you options to further extract this to your desktop or to another local path. But for now, I just want to take a few minutes to take a closer look at what are the actual files that are contained within that zip file. So first of all, you will see that we now have access to a lightweight DWF file that will be useful for those who don't have Revit, but who would want to see the general model geometry and its data. You also have a JPEG rendition of the model in 3D space. You have the standard Revit family file. And lastly, you have the XML file that captures the data elements of the model to be used with SmartBIM's SmartBIM library product. Once we've downloaded the model to our desktop, we can simply click on the file and we'll be able to open up the RFA in Revit architecture. Once we have it open, we can take a quick look at the physical geometry by just going to our view cube at the top right and clicking around the cube to get different views from the side, from the back, and even from under the model, for example. Once we're comfortable with the physical geometry, we'll notice by looking at the category and parameters dialog that the object was actually categorized as specialty equipment. This is important to keep in mind because when we put the model into our actual building project, to make sure that we're seeing the data, the appropriate data for it, we will have to create that specialty equipment schedule. So I'll illustrate this in just a couple of minutes. Finally, before we get to that, we want to take a look at the family types dialog. If you open the dialog box here, you will see that we have an extensive amount of information, and at the very top you see a lot of details about the particular construction aspects of that. So there's a lot of information here about the installation, on the panels, the doors, even the aluminum tracks. And by clicking on any one of these PDFs, for example, we'll automatically able to go to our browser and then see that it opens up directly into our browser. Going back to the Revit model, and as you pan down, you'll see that there's been some more information included addressing things like materials and finishes, dimensional information, and finally you have information even about Moderco as well as SmartBIM. If we're comfortable with all these aspects, what we can do is take the next step to incorporating this into our building project. You can see that if I tile our windows here in Revit, I have my commercial building open in one window in the background, and here in the front I have my operable partition. Once I'm ready to incorporate this into our building, I just go to our partition, load it into our building project, and now it's loaded into the memory of our project. Now to actually place it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to level 1 and I'm going to use a shortcut for components, which is CM, and then I'm going to place it on this level 1 work plane. Now, as I bring the cursor down into the screen, you can see that Revit is trying to place my wall partition. And so what I'll do is by hitting spacebar, I can more accurately rotate the model around. And then I can just orient it roughly into the room where I'd like it. Now we're pretty close to where we want it, but you can see that there's a couple of aspects to the model already. The general partition is outlined by this hash pattern, and it's also depicted in a stacked orientation at this point. To change that, I can just click on this object, and here you can see that I can actually change the spacing for the wall width if I'd like. And I can also show the wall system extended as opposed to retracted by just unchecking this box. The alternative to changing the wall width here is that I actually move the shape handles that you just saw a minute ago directly in the model itself. Now, if I'm comfortable with this, I can zoom in and make my final adjustments to position the model where I'd like it. And once this is done and the view is refreshed, and we generally have the model, we can take the last and final step in actually seeing the data as opposed to just the physical aspects of the model. By going to Schedules under the View tab, we can now go back to Specialty Equipment. And now we're giving all the options for all of the data that's incorporated into this actual model and which elements we want to include in our schedules. So by going through this list, we can incorporate some or all of this information. So for example, if I want to include family types, I can include family types, or I can just include everything all together. And then of course here, by clicking on any one element or multiple elements by holding down the Shift key, I can move the data up. So the positioning and the order of the data elements will change in my schedule. Finally, by clicking OK, I'm immediately present with a specialty equipment schedule that has the data about all my specialty equipment elements in my project. So you can see at the bottom that my operable partition has come through and all the data elements along with it.